Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I'm going to talk about game lessons from collecting fragrances. It's Fun Friday. I've talked about chocolate, talked about dice, so now I'm going to talk about fragrances, something I collect a lot of. And I will show you in a few seconds the entire collection. Little history. I had a few like aftershaves and stuff in college. All of them are gifts. A friend gave me some gray flannel, which I really loved. And my stepmother gave me a sampler of different things. And they were hit or miss, but there was a 4711 in there. And I remember thinking, this is really good. Never thought about it again. In fact, because I grow a beard, I wasn't really using a lot of aftershave. Or I didn't need it. Then in 2005, a friend gave me a bottle of Acqua di Gio. Wow, that smelled good. I think it was the first higher end aftershave. Way higher than gray flannel, but not top end. It was really good. It was really good. I liked it. I wanted more. Now I have hundreds. I have this huge glass cabinet filled with fragrances of all types. Men's fragrances, ladies' fragrances, unisex fragrances. By the way, depending on what country you're in, some of them are labeled men, some of them are labeled ladies, some of them are unisex, and then they're different here in the US. It's weird. I don't quite understand the whole gendering of fragrances, and trust me, it changes over time, but I have these roughly arranged from the top shelf are the stuff that I really, really like, and it lasts a long time, and it has good projection and good sillage, and I'll talk about all that. The middle tier, or the second tier, is stuff I like, but it's missing possibly one of those. Third tier is good. It's serviceable. I grab stuff from there occasionally. The bottom tier is stuff either I'm not that fond of how it smells, or it's missing most of the things I look for. Either it doesn't last very long, or I put it on and no one else can smell it. You have to be like right up in my face to smell it. So I don't wear those very much. If you can see how many I have, it's like my dice collection, but a lot worse, because not only do I have more of them. While some of these cost $6, $10, $20, some of them cost a few hundred. So I put a lot more money into this. And I kind of want to talk about what I've learned, because like chocolate, where I learned to tell the cacao percentage just from a taste, and sometimes what country it was from, decades of collecting fragrances let me really pull out the notes and learn what I like and what I don't like. I'm going to put all these in topics that I think transfer to video games. And I'm going to start with this one. The first thing I learned, expensive doesn't necessarily mean good. The same way a AAA game may not be as good when you play it as some cheap indie game. That cheap indie game may smash that AAA game. What I learned was you can spend a lot of money on a fragrance and not like it. And just like video games, the reasons are entirely subjective. Maybe I don't like how it smells. Maybe the basic smell I don't like. Fragrances often change over time. It's what's called like top notes and mid notes and base notes. They come out at different times. Maybe I like how it starts, but I don't like what it turns into. Maybe I don't like how long it lasts. Maybe I don't like the projection, how far it throws. Like, I have some that you can smell from so far away that I rarely wear them, because you can literally smell them on the other side of the office. And then there's another thing called sillage. Sillage is the trail you leave. It's not the projection. I used to think they were the same thing. But you can be wearing something that doesn't have much projection, but when you walk around, it's like you leave a scent trail behind you. Some expensive fragrances have amazing sillage. Basically, someone has been in this room who's worn it, but it's not much projection. You can walk up to different people and you're not quite sure who's wearing it. It's an interesting thing. Usually projection and sillage go hand in hand, but not always. Also, quick side note, body chemistry. We all have different body chemistries. It really, really, really affects how fragrances smell when you first put it on and how they evolve over time. Please don't just, if you want to go buy something and you go up to a fragrance counter and they spray it on a strip, use that as the first pass, but then definitely spray some on your wrist and hang out for 5 or 10 minutes and see how it develops. I put on things that I like how it starts and I don't like how it ends. And there's one brand, I'm just going to name it because I'm not shaming it, it's just on me. Bulgari makes great scents, but every single one of their scents turns to garbage, and I mean hot sewery garbage on me. Usually takes about a minute or two. I literally went into a Macy's once to pick up a Nautica scent. I think it was Voyage. And the woman at the counter was really pushing Bulgari. And I said, no, I can't have it. I can't have it. It smells bad. And she goes, just try it. And then she sprayed it on my wrist. And I just stood there and I'm like, I'm going to subject her to it. And it smelled great. And then the smell started to change. And then within a minute and a half, she was like, oh, is that you? And I'm like, no, it's your Bulgari. It's why I don't wear Bulgari. And she was like, there's a men's room over there. You may want to go wash it off. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Please don't spray things on me. And I went and washed it off, came back, got the Nautica. So conversely to expensive stuff, because that's a super expensive brand and it smells great on people I know, but not on me. Cheap and indie fragrances can be absolutely amazing. I was in a Target and I found something called Rustic Woods, and I think it was by Good Chemistry, something like that. It was like $6.99, $7.99. It smelled great. It smelled like woods. It smelled great. I think I bought that and used it for a few years. Similarly, there's a brand called 4711. I mentioned it was in the sampler and I liked it. They make a huge range. They're basically citrus. But recently they started doing remixes where they amp up one of the notes. Their remix orange one. I bought a 5-ounce bottle of that and burned through it. They also make neroli, grapefruit, lemon, lavender. They're all good. And then they started making 2-note ones. I believe it's under their Aqua Colonia sub-brand of 4711. And it's things like frankincense and myrrh, or bamboo and watermelon. It's a bunch of combinations like that. I don't think I have the exact combinations. I have several of those, really good. In fact, 4711 is an inexpensive one that you can dive into right away if you want to try out fragrances, because they don't cost that much. I think they're like $20 a bottle. And if you like it, there's another brand called Acqua di Parma that you can graduate up to. That's also citrus, but much better, much more refined scent, lasts longer. Some of my 4711s, I put them on. 5 minutes later, you'd think I wouldn't have anything on. There's another cheap brand called Outrimmer. They make an ocean marine scent, which is absolutely phenomenal. I wear that. When I wear it, it lasts a couple hours on me. I've been asked more times by people what aftershave I'm wearing. I can be in the grocery store. I was at the dentist once. It was Ocean by Outrimmer. And then finally, if you really want some cheap stuff, there's a brand called Demeter. You can buy it online. I think you can buy it in stores. I've only ever bought it online. They have a range of what are called soliflors. They smell like one thing. You name it, they probably have it. Name a flower, they've got it. Name a food, they've got it. My favorite one from them was grass. It smelled like fresh mowed grass. It was phenomenal. They also made one called Dirt, which smelled like wet, moist soil. It was awesome. They make so many. Their rain one was really good, although I finally found a rain one that I like better later. In general, though, now that I've said not all expensive ones are good and some of the cheap ones are amazing, in general, though, spending more money on a fragrance gets you more. More of what? Maybe it's a bigger bottle. Maybe the scent is just better. And again, that's subjective. Maybe it lasts longer. Maybe it projects more. Maybe it has a better silage. Maybe it's got an unusual scent that's hard to find in cheaper brands. Like it's hard to find a really good sandalwood at a cheaper level. Sandalwood's expensive, and it's got a very distinctive scent that I like. So in general, go for a higher end one. Le Labo makes a great sandalwood. But what this also means is that there's a lot of niche stuff out there that's really good, and many times it's an indie brand. It can be really great, but it doesn't have a huge appeal because it's very niche. One of my favorites is Zyrina. It's a fragrances made by one or more drag queens. I don't know how many drag queens are involved in this. It might just be Zyrina. But they made one called Dark Water, which they said smells like chlorine and moss and stuff like that. It's very inexpensive. It really smells like Pirates of the Caribbean. It smells exactly like Pirates of the Caribbean. That thing has the sillage of an Olympic shot putter. I would put it on, and I'm not kidding. If I wore that, I only wore it a few times during the Outer Worlds. Charlie Staples, the lead designer, whose office was right next to mine, he would enter in a door on the other side of the office. And he said, as soon as he opened that door, he knew I was there already and I was wearing dark water. It projected halfway across an office building. It was very interesting because there was another one called Eccentric Molecule. And I think I wore Molecule 01, but it might have been Molecule 02. It's primarily ISO E Super, that's the molecule. Really interesting thing about that molecule, half the population can't even smell it. And the half that can, they don't agree what it smells like. I thought it smelled a little like sandalwood, but not quite. Some people smell musk. Some people think it smells like earth. It's whatever goes into your nose. And for half the people, it does nothing. It's a really weird one. There's also, I had a James Healy scent called Bubblegum. Bubblegum Chic. Or was that Frederick Malle? It's one of those. It's very expensive. It smells just like Bazooka Joe bubblegum. I loved it. Didn't sell that well, so they changed the name to Jasmine Chic. And apparently it sells better that way. But I'm like, it doesn't smell like jasmine. It smells kind of like jasmine. It smells exactly like Bazooka Joe bubblegum. And then there's another brand that a friend of mine discovered called Zoologist. They have so many good scents, but most of them are named after animals. She loves cow because it has a lactic smell to it, like a milky scent. I loved seahorse because it was a marine scent. Just Zoologist has this huge range. It's not that low end. It's pretty expensive, but they're really, really good, but very niche. So, just like game demos, I highly recommend samplers. Samplers, which are often called discovery sets in the fragrance world, they let you try a bunch of them. They're small little versions. Sometimes they even look like little bottles. They let you try a bunch of ones. You can get samplers of different brands, all in like a sampler. Here's a Christmas sampler. Here's a summer sampler. You can also get one brand with a lot of different scents in that brand. I've done that a lot. There are cheap samplers. There are really expensive samplers. I think the most expensive one, I bought a Frederick Malle sampler of about 15 different ones, and I think it was a couple $100. But it let me narrow down exactly what Frederick Malle ones I loved. And one of them was, I don't remember the name. It smelled sort of marine. Eve? I don't remember. Anyway, I recommend you get those because it's a great way if you want to learn about fragrances. You can learn about a brand or learn about a range of particular scent types. In my experience with fragrances and games, there are some brands that can do no wrong. Once I find out this brand makes this, I will probably know I like it. I'm not going to say what that is for video game companies, although you might be able to guess. But for fragrances, there's a few brands that I've never ever smelled anything in their entire lineup, and some of these have huge lineups, that I did not like. Diptyque, French brand. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They have a sandalwood one. They have one that smells like black currant. It's just phenomenal. And I mentioned Acqua di Parma. Tons of citrus ones. They smell very similar. You probably can't tell the difference unless you spray two on and you smell them for a while. And you want to see how they develop on you. For me, it's Amalfi. A friend of mine likes Capri. They're all different. And then Joe Malone. Everything in that huge lineup smells fantastic. And I know most of them, not all of them, most of them are aimed at women. I had to out myself at the Saks Fifth Avenue fragrance counter once, explaining I was not buying this for my wife, and my husband doesn't wear them. I mentioned Bulgari, though. That's a brand I can't wear, but it's very expensive. So that's kind of like a counter to, here are three brands, everything in it's good. Here's one that's not good. Unfortunately, Penhaligon is also one of them. That's a British brand. I got a sampler once, and everything in that sampler I didn't like. But guess what? That's for me and my body chemistry and my preferences. The sampler let me figure it out. The Frederick Malle one, I didn't like everything in it, but I liked a lot. Tom Ford, liked some of them, didn't like others. Le Labo, I bought a very expensive discovery set from Le Labo, liked some, didn't like others. Bought some of them. So, just like role-playing games, I have preferences. In general, if I had to like throw a dart at it, I'd say I like citrus. I like green. It's hard to describe. It's not herbal. It's just like green, like grass and stems and leaves. I like woody, sandalwood, cedar, pine. I love wood. Although pine is getting into resin, which I don't like. And then marine scents. Anything that smells like the ocean, I love. Now, there's floral ones I like too. In general, I don't like pure floral, although there's Victor and Rolf makes a flower bomb that's the bomb. But don't get Spice Bomb. Spice Bomb, well, for me, made my eyes water. And if someone near me is wearing it, my eyes water. Interestingly, I don't like gourmand flavors. That's things that smell like food. Don't like those. I bought a brownie one once. I love the smell, but I don't want to smell like a brownie. I want to eat it. I don't like animalic, I think it's called. There's a civet smell that some people like. It makes things smell dirty and musky. Don't really like that. Blah. Then I'm hit and miss on some other ones. Vanilla. Some vanillas I like. Most I don't. Most fruit I don't like, except citrus, which is usually categorized differently. Fruit is sweet, and then citrus gets its own. But watermelon, love. In fact, I bought a Demeter watermelon just because I wanted a soliflor of watermelon. And then spicy stuff and resiny stuff, I tend not to like. So I've learned in general what I like, and then I have to dive into certain brands to find out if I will like it from that brand. How you can navigate this yourself, I recommend you go to stores and you try them on. And don't limit yourself to just one type or even by gender. Try different things, but you only have 2 wrists. And I recommend that after you smell them on the paper, you try them on the wrist. So there's a limit to how many you could try in a day. And please do try it on yourself because some things will change over time. If you want to go faster, I've done the same thing with fragrances that I do with games, which is I find a reviewer and I look at his past reviews to see if he lines up with, did he like the things I liked and did he hate the things I hated? Did she call out the same issues that I had? Does she seem to have the same tastes? Once I find that reviewer, whether it's for video games or fragrance, then I look at stuff they like that I don't own. And that gives me an idea of what to try when I go into the store. Or, if I didn't want to go in the store, what sampler sets to order so I can try them in-house. By the way, some companies, if you buy a sampler set and then later on buy a full size of the fragrance, they give you a coupon. That's the price of the sampler set. So if you spend like $30 on a sampler, and then later on you buy a full bottle, you get $30 off. That's kind of cool. Look for that. There is so much out there. Also, if you have a friend, ask them what they like. But beware the chemistry stuff. Ask a friend if you can try some stuff on. When I moved to Seattle, I had too much of these to move. That picture you saw wasn't all of them. I probably took about 30 bottles to Obsidian and just put them on a counter and said, hey, everybody, I'm not saying you smell bad, but free fragrances for everybody. And I heard one guy took like half of them. So I hope he's walking around smelling great. This is just like Steam. You may want to try a demo. You may want to see if you can return it later, if you can, because it's very subjective. Games, fragrances, super subjective. Just because you think it's great doesn't mean someone else will think it's great, and doesn't even mean you think it will smell good on someone else. Things are subjective. Anyway, wow, I talked a long time. I'm kind of really into fragrances too much. I smell really good today. Talk to you later.